And there are always, yes, here we go. We should be live. We should be live. Hi, Nate. Good afternoon, good morning. I think it's early morning there, right?
It's morning here,
It's
yes.
a
Yeah.
morning there. So, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are located in the world. And it's really great to have you here again. Not sure if this is the first of the webinar that you actually join. This is the one of the long series that we are organizing here at Wari, and we are here today with Nathanael Girard, right? Uh,
Yeah.
it is a pleasure really to have you. And question is, Nathaniel, I am very excited to have you here. And also, I would like, before we start with questions and we getting people on, I really wanted to encourage people to actually ask questions and really interact, because that is actually one of the great perks of being here live with us right now. So feel free to we have Pato Mariano that is also saying hello from Spain. Yes, I'm here in the Netherlands. Nate, where are you based?
I'm based out of Denver, Colorado, actually.
Okay, so all the way from the US. So that is great. So let's start it easy, right? Today we are going to discuss about some of the tools that could help, some of the workflows that would really help designers actually explore this new world of creativity, right? And actually, we also have Ikram from Malaysia. It's 1 a.m. there, so
Oh, wow.
that's dedication. Eh? I mean, you really gotta make his time worth. And indeed,
Well,
so tell us to start a little bit about your background, right, and how develop your passion for 3D creation.
my background started actually a long time ago when I was exposed to Star Wars. It was a visual effects phenomenon, right? And more recently, I guess, recently for me, Jurassic Park, right? When the visual effects were coming out that were just incredibly realistic, and I said I want to learn how to do that. So I
Okay.
went to school for a long, long time, and with a focus specifically on learning 3D animation and visual effects.
Okay,
Right.
so
So I got a
that
bachelor's
was your
degree.
core education, let's say.
Yes, yes, that was the core education. That was my whole focus. I even went back. So I got that education from Cogswell Polytechnical College over in California, and got my bachelor's of arts degree there. And then I decided it wasn't enough. Like I didn't get enough out of it. I wanted even more, and so I actually went back for a postgraduate diploma at Vancouver Film School up in Canada, and was able to do it's a very concentrated course there, and you can do all kinds of different avenues. You can do film, 3D animation,
Yeah.
you can do game development, things like that, and you come out of it with a pretty polished demo reel.
Yeah, and in
And
Canada, actually, I heard that's pretty. I've heard about. I've seen many talented artists, animators, filmmakers coming from Canada. So that there is really a culture, I feel
yeah,
there. I think
yeah,
of
it is. It is. Vancouver is amazing. It's kind of like the LA of the North, is what they call it, because you can be walking down the street and you can walk through a film set on your way to school, right? They film everywhere up there. A lot of your TV series are get filmed up there, like the Smallville was filmed up there and things like that. So there's a yeah, it is a major cultural center for creativity.
so.
Yeah.
And you get this basically background. Then what happened? How did you move in your career? So how did that evolve?
Well, I tried applying to a lot of different studios, and I thought, well, I'll get picked up right away. I've got this killer demo reel,
Yeah.
whatever. And it just doesn't happen that way, right? It's more about who you know and your timing, right? Because you have to time it when a project is happening, and they
Yeah.
all hire and fire off of projects, which is kind of sad because you
Stuff. Yeah.
develop all this elaborate skill set. It takes years to learn how to do 3D stuff,
Yeah.
the way that they have been doing it for years, and and then they lay you off and go, sorry, we don't have any more work for you, until the next project. We can give you a call, but you're left out in the cold as a professional, trying to go, well, where's the next gig coming from, and can you string those together?
Yeah.
It's quite an art form just stringing that together. If you can't have a consistent, gig, but a lot of my classmates were able to do it and be flexible like that. A lot of times it involves you moving to different locations because you have to be at the studio to do those things. And so I tried doing that. It didn't pan out, like the timing or whatever. It didn't work. I did get several interviews. I interviewed at ILM, for example, and it was fantastic. They have a wonderful facility there. Great people, great team. They were able to fill the position internally, which is awesome for the people that are internal, right? Like you'd want to keep those people on as long as possible.
Of course.
So yeah, so they, but my path kind of had to diverge. I had to have money, so I decided to fall back on my background career, which was in web design and things like that, and that kind of led me down an e-learning path and into what I'm now into fintech right now. So
okay, yeah. So and also a question maybe also to the people that are in the chat. For me, the people in the chat are there, but I believe that you are there nonetheless. What's your maybe also a bit of your education actually? What's your background? Do you come also from web design, 2D design, or maybe you come from art? So write it down in the chat just to get an impression from the people. Well, we keep asking then the next question to Nate. So the next question is, so then that's the moment that basically, what are the skills that designer should have to approach 3D? So you had all this education, right? So you got basically the formation of the whole path, the whole education path. So what are those skills that are needed to be to think spatially, to design in 3D?
So you still have to build off the same design principles that 2D designers build off of, right? Things like repetition or having a focal point to your design, or contrast, or depth, especially depth. Things like that help build up an environment for your designers, right, or for your users. A designer spatially though is even challenged beyond a fixed resolution, right? Typically, 2D designers, they design for a resolution, or they can design responsively for a couple of different resolutions, right? And then the design changes based on what device you're on. When you're talking about spatial computing, the device that you're on does dictate what the user can see, right? If you're in a HoloLens, for example, you've got a certain field of view, right? Yeah, fairly small, right? And you don't understand it until you put it on and you go, wow, like I can actually see a lot around it, but the actual interactive spot is fairly compact. And that's a design choice by Microsoft, which is fine. But in VR, for example, you might have a much wider field of view, and so you've got to accommodate for space. There is no resolution per se. There is the depth at which you can see things and see things clearly, and then there's a depth beyond that things like you are in real life, right? So what you're doing is you're designing a space for the user and making them feel comfortable with what they're doing. But in spatial computing, we tend to think of it like Iron Man or like Minority Report, that people will be up here doing this with their arms all day long, right? And that's just not realistic. I mean, your arms get tired after doing that for 5 minutes. So
I do have also. May I interrupt a second? Sorry, Nate. Just because it was fascinating. There was now. Have you seen that Samsung actually released a new concept for the AR glasses? I don't know if you have noticed. Basically, also Samsung is joining, and Apple and Facebook. And I have a question for you, and also a question for the people in the chat. Actually, what do you think is going to be the principal input method for those AR glasses? Are we talking about hands? Are we talking about voice? Are we talking about, for example, another device like my phone, right? Am I going to control my AR glasses with my phone? I mean, anything else? Like, what do you think? Yeah, good point. Or a second device, let's say. What do you think is going to be the principal input method for AR glasses? I'll also be curious for the people actually that are here in the stream, because I think that was a fascinating question that came up. I just wanted to share it.
Yeah. Please give us.
Yes, and also actually we got people that, for example, she's Emily O'Neill, virtual reality interaction designer and word builder. Well, we gotta see
Yeah.
one of your work then, Emily. Then we have generalist designer, industrial, UX, UI, web. That's also like an interesting.
It
Uh,
is funny how those all kind of blend together. Like my design skill set applies to UX design, graphic design, web
yes.
design, 3D
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you have that kind of mindset, you can branch it in a lot of different ways. Industrial design is another one of those that
Yeah.
I haven't personally gotten into, but I did it when I was younger, and it comes naturally to designers. We think spatially, we think creatively, and we actually can take feedback and adapt. Right? And it's very important skill to have.
So
But yeah,
I've seen some people here popping up with hand gestures. Jose Somolinos says hands, gestures. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It still makes me wonder.
I'm so I tend to lean towards voice actually. Voice is one of those things that we have lots of really good voice analysis algorithms out there, and they just keep getting better, right? And it's kind of a UI-less interface, right? We all use it every day with our dots. I have to call it dot because otherwise she'll start talking to me. Um, but it's a very natural way of interacting with the people around you, and it might become a natural way of interacting with our devices as well. I do agree that hand gestures is going to become critical because people are going to want to grab things and do things with their hands. They're very tactile. It's very hard to give them the feedback
Of
from a
course.
hand input, right? So I've seen interface devices like rings, something you could wear all the time and just swipe or whatever, and they'll pick up those hand gestures and the directions it's pointing. I've seen actual brainwave interface that you can put on
Yeah,
your
that's
headset
also
and
like.
control things with your mind, which is it's coming. Like it's here. Like if
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
to play around with those things,
yeah,
there are companies out there that do this
yeah.
stuff. Um, there may be something like a clicker or something like that, but I don't see people carrying something like that around with them all the time. I see them wearing glasses. I see them maybe wearing a ring, like
You
something
know what
that's
I
like
think? What I think is also that it's the social and the experience, right? We are here about talking about design, talking about user experience, and would you start talking in the middle of while you're walking, like just around and calling things and to give orders? Would you start swerving around? I don't know, and that was makes me like think maybe there are gonna be a certain kind of use cases where you do hands. Maybe when you are in your desk, yes, I believe I can do it. But if I'm in a bus, am I gonna wait?
right.
Like how do you
Right,
do
right.
it?
Excuse me. Yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
just need to put this right over here. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
wait.
Yeah,
Yeah,
scaling becomes very troublesome. Yeah, it really is going to depend on where you are, right? When you can take this device everywhere you're at,
yeah.
you're going to have different limitations, and so the device is going to have to offer multiple forms of input so that you can accomplish various tasks. Some tasks are not going to be appropriate for your bus
No,
interaction or
yeah, yeah.
your plane interaction, right? And the cool thing about these devices is that they have cameras pointing out away from your face to get positional tracking information. If you combine that with machine learning, then it can recognize where you're at. Oh, you're in a plane, or you're in a bus, or
Right.
you're walking,
Yes.
or
So it
whatever. And it
automatically
can adapt.
adjusts.
Yeah, it can dynamically adapt to the kinds of things, interfaces that you need to have. Like if I'm running, this is not a gesture. This is me running, right? But I might be needing to make a phone call. So I wouldn't be using this to make a phone call.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would be
yeah.
using, voice or something, though I might be out of breath too. So there might be something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
So I
absolutely.
think
We
you're
are a
going to
bit.
have to have adaptive interfaces. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are a bit digressing here, but I hear people saying voice, and indeed, there's it's just Purple said that Valve is definitely interested in the brain control because you have seen also they have like eye, also the eye
Eye tracking too, right?
gaze is
So
also very
there's a
important.
whole
Yeah.
movie on Netflix called Anon, right? And it's about all the interfaces that are done with your eyes and it's tracking what you're looking at in the interface. It's very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get back on track, because we have a bit digressed, but that doesn't matter, right? I think it was a nice variation. But I do have, so I want to ask a question to people, while then I ask right after a question to Nate. And the question to the people is, what level of 3D skills do you have in terms of, for example, animation, or maybe 3D modeling, or maybe anything that has to do with that? Because my next question is actually to Nate, and basically is, what advice would you give to someone that has no 3D experience to start creating in 3D? So there is a UX UI designer. He has skilled in 2D, right? Maybe he knows how to sketch. Maybe he's an industrial designer, right? But he doesn't have that knowledge, but still would like to start exploring. What advice would you give to them? And meanwhile, guys, please, would love to know about what's your kind of like your level of expertise, and what's your specialization in a sense.
Okay, so this is something I'm very passionate about. I've been studying ways to make 3D easier for ages. I wrote that whole article about why 3D is hard and it shouldn't be.
By the way, if you haven't read the article, I think it's great. You should go to Nate LinkedIn account. If you find the history, you are certainly going to find it. But please go ahead. Sorry,
yeah, it's also linked from my website if you need a link to it, nathanaelgirard.com. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I've been studying it for years, and there are lots of tools out there that can do this actually quite well, right? Now, you're going to need a computer of some kind, because we're talking about spatial computing. You need a computing mechanism. You can do it with just a desktop, right? For example, I know people don't think of Minecraft as a creation tool, but it is. Like, my kids are in there creating in 3D worlds, all the time. They absolutely love it, right? It is a creation tool. Now, it's very limited, but it is something that you can create, mansions or houses, or you can even make devices in there too. I mean, there's some crazy things you can do. It's a very simple, easily accessible, thing, and it's everywhere. It's the best-selling video game of all time, right? There are other games out too. If you have access to a PlayStation, I recommend getting a PSVR and getting PlayStation Dreams, because Dreams is an amazing creation platform.
I've seen some stuff. I'm like, what is that? Just made with that? Like, how is that possible? It's incredible.
It is fantastic. It is freeing. You can make models, rig them, animate them, give them voice talent, give them. You can light your scenes. You can create effects and particles, things that take ages to do in traditional 3D software packages is like minutes to do. So it's shortening that timeline, right? And it's making it accessible to consumers, people who don't know how to UV unwrap something or don't know how to rig something, necessarily. You can follow their tutorials. They have very, very elaborate tutorials, and it's a very good way to get into making 3D stuff. And then you can also export from Dreams as well. But you have to have a PlayStation to do it. You can do it without the VR, and I have the controllers for it, but with the VR, it's so much faster. Okay, so that's one. There's a lot though. Masterpiece VR is another one. So if you have a VR headset, a lot of options open up to you, because in VR.
Nate, I'm sorry. Before you move forward, because I've seen Big State is asking, Dream is awesome, but most people don't use the VR version. Would you recommend getting the going into the VR version? Is that a major difference between doing that in VR and, for example, on a controller?
Yes, I would. Yeah. I've done it with the controller, and in the VR, the difference is you're inhabiting the same space as your creation, right?
Yeah, that's massive.
And sometimes it's so much easier to wrap your head around what you're building when you're there with it, right? It's like being a sculptor rather than trying to interpret a 3D object in a 2D space on your screen, on your TV screen or whatever, right? So I highly recommend getting into VR as soon as possible, right? Get a headset, something that you can connect to a computer or a PlayStation or whatever, and get in there and start exploring these creation tools. There's a lot of tools out there. There's Gravity Sketch, there's Tilt Brush, there's Medium,
And to go back also to some of what people are saying, some indeed are using Blender to start their creation, and because of course, I mean, Blender it's fantastic.
Yep.
Now, the point is also the question is what kind of assets do you need in order to move forward in your creation process, right? Because the point is that you create an asset in Blender, and as you mentioned, Gravity Sketch, when it's about VR tools for modeling, for let's say organic shapes, right? It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think that is absolutely a great tool. I love it, and allows anybody actually, and also a recommendation to the people that are in here today, like. And that's something that we're gonna hop in straight away. It's about the power of VR when you are creating. So VR is very often seen as an end goal, right? That is the VR experience that I want to have at the end, but that's not necessarily the case. Gravity Sketch is a great example when you can even create an image out of your, let's say, creation that you have done in VR. So I think that it's just
That's a
go ahead.
I was going to say that's a very important mindset, a shift in mindset that is happening today. Is that VR doesn't have to be the end goal, the end project. It can be part of the pipeline all the way through, right? And when you make that leap, suddenly you start looking for tools that fill in those gaps of the creation pipeline, right? People that have created in 3D know that it starts with your modeling, and then you've got a UV unwrap, and then you can texture, and you can rig, and then you can animate, and all of that stuff, right? It's a long pipeline, and there are different tools that do different pieces of that, right? Really well. Like Tavori is really great at animation, and Masterpiece VR has a rigging system and modeling system and like kit bashing system, right? And Gravity Sketch has like the illustrations and things like that. So you can actually build out a pipeline from different pieces, from different people's,
Exactly. Because people also believe that in VR, but then I cannot rig it, but then I cannot do the texture. Yeah, of course, you can't. I mean, because there is not one tool that does everything. I think that the killer is gonna be developing a VR pipeline that brings you, and then at some point you always might need to end up in Unity or Maya or other things. The point is leveraging the power of each tool. One question that I have here is, what about Mac tools? because that's another thing, because a lot of the designers, of course, are Mac people, and that makes sense. But how would you say that? What would you recommend?
On a Mac, okay, so I'd probably recommend going towards WebVR, because the browsers can accommodate the headsets. I don't know if the hardware can actually read the headsets. That I'm a little fuzzy with, because I've tried to help other people get set up with VR on Macs, and the software is just not there yet to support it. The hardware I think can support it, but I don't think the software is like the plugins and stuff. So I would recommend going towards WebVR, like A-Frame or something like that. It's very easy to get up to speed on, especially if you're already familiar with like JavaScript and HTML. You'll pick up A-Frame like no problem, right? If you're a web designer out there, grab it and start playing with it and create worlds. It's phenomenal.
And if I can also add a little thing, also for example, Mozilla Hubs and the editor for Mozilla Hubs that is Spoke is also very good, because you can also import your own models and bring them in and change the shape. They have a big library of primitives. You can get 360 picture in, 360 video in. So you might think you could actually do much more than you might think, and that's of course also Mac. Of course, we are still talking about early design, we're still talking about concepts, right? But on the other hand, you also get another advantage. Once that's done, you send a web link to someone and they can see it. Something that many other tools can't do, right? So I think that is also very...
Yeah, and the nice thing about that is that it doesn't require a VR headset to do web 3D, right? It has compatibility with just your browsers and stuff too. So you can still create 3D worlds and not need a headset, which I think is the point of some of the Mozilla Hubs things. There's some really great stuff out there. Like VRTeast is a tool that I saw that allows you to UV unwrap and texture map, paint textures directly on your 3D objects in WebVR, which is
Which one?
amazing.
Tell me again. Wait, you write it down.
VR, artiste, VR artiste,
Be
like VR,
artist.
artiste, yeah.
I I love this because
Hey, we're recording this. You don't have to take the notes. You can come back and watch it.
stupid, stupid. Okay, okay,
But
absolutely.
it's a step towards that direction. I was looking specifically for something like that.
So
And I know people are working on tools that can do this kind of pipeline, right? It's coming, but there's also so wrapping your head around that's still like, okay, I'm gonna make 3D, but I'm still gonna make it in VR. That's still kind of tricky. Well, what if, like, even further ahead in the 3D pipeline is using your voice to say, I want an object like a tree, and a tree appears. I say, I want it to be green or blue or whatever, and it changes for you, right? Like partnering with a machine learning algorithm to generate creatively as fast as you can think, right? Not as you can create. Like if I had to make a tree with
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like tilt brush, I'd have to draw all the little branches and all the little leaves and all that stuff. And you can build it really quick, but if I can have one right now, that's fantastic. So there are tools out there that people are working on that do exactly this. There's a plugin for Unity called Anything World, which go to anything.world is the website, where it literally uses a voice command to bring in rigged models from like Google Poly or from Sketchfab, and drop them into your scene so you can actually interact with it dynamically. Now, this is a tool that brings accessibility not just at the designer level, but at like the user level. Like even young kids can do this, right? My 11-year-old came in and did it when I got it up and running, and it was fantastic. Like you can say, I want a mountain background with a ski chalet and some mountain goats, and it just drops it all in dynamically
okay.
generated, using machine learning that is triggered off of your voice, right? You can take it even a step further and say, I want to interact, I want to talk to the goats. And the goat will turn around and start talking with you, and you can have a conversation with it. You can give it dialogue.
What language does the goat speak?
You're going to have to download it and try it out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can give it, language guidance, right? About, and so this is a way that you can bring creation to the everyone level, like
Yeah,
down
yeah.
to, you don't even need a whole lot of skills to do this. You can put this in the hands of students, and they can make wonderful things. Like this is a thing that's going to blow ed tech, wide open, right? Because this is what they're looking for teachers who don't have designer skills, they don't have 3D skills, but they still want to bring immersive experiences to their classrooms.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they're going to need, is something that level
There
of
is
accessibility.
accessibility. Yes, yes. I have a question from David Samo. How about doing UI design from inside VR? Any insight or stories about using VR to make VR UI in Tvori or other apps?
Yes. Okay. So I do mine in Tavori and also in Masterpiece VR, and primarily the reasons I do that is because of the accuracy, the snapping, the alignments, the precision and level that you can get amongst objects, right, that you're creating. And they have a wide variety of library objects. Tavori, has a bunch of icons that you can work with, and you just want to grab. So you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave the experience to get your assets. You can just import them right in and run with it, right? So designing interfaces is very, very freeing. But in a way, it's almost too freeing. Like you have to give yourself guidelines. You want to say, okay, I'm designing something on this plane, so I want everything snaps to the plane,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's spatially. And then I want these things aligned to each other. So you have to have quick ways of doing that, or you want quick ways of duplicating. And Tavori and Masterpiece VR both do a really good job of building those designs. In fact, Masterpiece VR even has a JavaScript connectivity. I think it's still in beta, but like you can actually add scripting to your 3D objects using it. I haven't tried it myself, but I saw some documentation for it. So if you're like a developer, you might be able to get in there and actually make it interactive too. I don't know, but interactivity is like that next level for
That is
design
the
today, and
key. whoever manages to nail that is gonna, I think, is gonna really win. And it's tough, because the point is that you still want to have that accessibility.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, of course, like everybody that is trying to do it is adding this node system. I don't know. I'm also like, I don't know how accessible Horizon is gonna be with all those different nodes connecting to each other. There is Rec Room. I mean, Rec Room is also great, amazing, great creation. But I don't know. When I was trying to do after 10 minutes, I need 10,000 chips to open a door. Why? I just want to open the door. It's like no. That's. And I think it's tricky, and that is the level of complexity is gonna really go hand in hand with the level of kind of like depth that designers will need. So that is I think really.
What's fascinating though is that we have a lot of the tools at our disposal. They're built, and they're in this little bucket over here, and we haven't connected that bucket to the environment that you're working in, right? You've got, like, for instance, there's all these incredible XR interaction libraries for Unity that are out there that can add interactivity at the drop of a script onto an object. But but you still need an interface that lets you do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
you know
because
I mean?
it's just like, how do you do that? You need to copy a string of text and put it there and edit if something changed. How do you do in VR? Yeah.
Right.
There is another question.
Challenges to overcome in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. There is another question, Nathaniel. Do you think collaboration is going to be killing feature for UI UX designers? Full co-editing at the stage of the low fidelity product. So you are in the early stage. You are at the beginning, right? Would co-creation be the killing feature? And this is maybe also a question to the people, right? In the sense, okay. So also here, I want to say a couple of things because we move forward. One thing is, so now we are doing this, but we are also building a community around this, right? And you're gonna figure out why I'm saying this. It's because the first step that we took was basically create our viewer, was basically to get people in and to do design reviews together. So that was the first step that we took into allowing people to share their creations, share their animated prototypes. And that's done with Vintuori. You can go on our website, you can download it, you can start a free trial, you can invite people for 14 days, design and share those designs.
You and I have even done that. It is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, it's just, okay, how does that work? You just have a different level of understanding completely.
Yes.
So if you also want to join some of those and you have a quest, you can join. You should go to our website and then you can basically like subscribe as a beta tester, and we'll go back in touch. We already have our first meetup organized the 2nd and the 4th of March, sold out in 2 hours, because we want to make it also like close, like with only 10 people per event, because wouldn't make sense to have too many, because then it would lose value. But so if you want to do it, just do it, because we really want to collaborate. So that's why, going back to the question, what do you think about co-creation in the early stage of design? And also to the people that are listening right now, what do you think, how valuable would be on a scale from 1 to 10?
Okay, I'm not going to scale it from 1 to 10 because it's like an 11, like I absolutely rely on feedback from other designers in my everyday work, right? You'd be foolish not to, right? Because everybody sees something from a little bit of a different perspective, and literally a different perspective when you're in VR. But you get different people have different experiences, different thought process. And when you're co-creating, it's almost like 1 + 1 = 3, right? Because you actually get more done because people are more focused, and especially if you're in VR, you're 100% focused on what it is you're doing. And so co-creating is magical. It's magical. And I think it is going to be the killer thing. Because it's designers giving feedback in real time to each other and being able to build at the same time if they want to. If you've ever done pair programming, it's the same kind of magic. Typically in pair programming, you have one person driving the coding and the other person is sitting back and thinking about it strategically from a broader perspective. What are the next 3 steps, right? So that we can move as fast as possible. A similar thing can happen with co-creation, right? Somebody can be sitting there creating and somebody else can be thinking about it from just a slightly further away perspective and see where to go and how to guide it. It's going to be incredible for mentoring designers, for collaborating with your clients virtually, and designing it like right with them if they have that kind of time and they want that kind of control, with your boss, right? It's going to be incredible. You and I have experienced some of the magic already, just sharing our ideas back and forth in the Tavori viewer. It's been great. Yeah.
So I hear also Alex Fernandez says co-creation is magical. He also has an invite for Horizon, so he's gonna get a lot of requests now on LinkedIn. Alex, I think one is gonna be mine.
But, yeah, I want an invite to Horizon too.
Yeah. Joe Daniel says, yeah, I agree. Multi-user collaboration is gonna be absolutely a killer. And we'll see. We'll see. That's actually what we are gonna focus on for our first beta that is gonna be out for the closed community end of April. So if you want experiments, of course Snake's gonna be there, and we would like to get you guys all on board. And there is also another thing, right? I mean, don't hesitate to share. So I mean, if you think that there is a friend, another designer that might be interested, that might maybe has a quest, I mean, share it really, because the purpose here is to create shared value, and it's not to and to learn, because we really would want people to shape the product, shape how the design is going to look like. So absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will echo that. That if you've got a quest, I know it's maybe not sanitary these days, but clean it first. But put it on as many people's heads as you possibly can, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't understand how freeing this is until they actually experience it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So Jose Somolinos, he says, our customer favorite question, can I see it in VR? Yes. And that's the point. So in theory, what you gotta do is put your client in VR on a low fidelity prototype as soon as possible, so that he can see it and he can tell you what doesn't work and what works. Because otherwise you go to Unity, you spend maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you spend God knows how many hours, and then yeah, you are basically but
yeah,
let's see
especially
it. This is a good point. So why don't we see it in VR? Nate, maybe why don't you show us something that you have done in Tuori, for example, maybe some of your creations, to give an impression about to people of how that actually looks.
you want me to do it live, or you want me to do it in with just the videos of that we shared earlier?
I mean,
On the
I think that if you had, I remember you had connected the headset, right? So I think that
Yeah,
might.
yeah. Well, let's do it live. Let's see. Okay, let me share. I'll present a screen here, and I'll just show you a little bit around how easy it is to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It is pretty awesome.
Let's see. So I have here. There is also like indeed my first 10. That I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce the name, but he says, "Amen. Yes, people need to see it in VR. The fact is, I'm trying to do with my organization is just getting it on heads. Yes, just
Yes,
put
it's a
headset on
huge
people's
challenge these days,
heads."
right? You guys see kind of my
Yes.
Savory windows. So right now, here I'll close some of this stuff so you can see kind of what the goal is here. Um, so this was supposed to be like a meditation app. This is just a concept that I built really fast, where someone could be sitting on a let me back up a little bit. Someone could be sitting on just like a pad and be able to choose different environments, different 3D environments to be resting in, and perhaps even have accompanying audio tracks for each one of these environments. So this lake might have lake sounds and maybe some birds or whatever. It's just kind of an environmental experience, right? Because when you're in VR, you're shutting out the whole rest of the world, and you are building a world around you. So this experience was built very quickly. In fact, we can just make a new one here, and I can walk you through it real quick.
Yeah. Maybe to give the people also an impression, like, so that's when you can create fast, and then you can share it as fast. Let's say.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, by the way, just throwing away stuff.
Freeing.
Yeah, it's very freeing. So this is the shelf here. It has all of your assets and stuff. We're going to grab one of the one of the little people here. Come on. I do love the fact that Tavori comes with these little guys. They're fantastic. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. I'm just going to make him sit down, right? Cross-legged. You know, I don't know if people can actually get into that position, but
Yeah. I mean, I think it would do.
yeah. But I do love these little helpers, the little hands and head. So you can get. So I've got a person here, real quick. Let's see. Grab any. Looking for a particular shape. Yeah. This is a little UI button, but if you flip it upside down, you can scale it up. That's like a little pad for them to sit on. And these things are very, very, very quick to do. I think I grabbed like this shape, right? We'll squish it down, make it look a little pillow-esque, right? Right. Just give them a place to sit, and we can rotate it around. There we go. And I just wanted to give him like a little shelf to build his to select from. So
Yeah.
in VR, you need to have things kind of within arm's reach, unless you're using a pointer type of interface. Anything beyond arm's reach, they're going to expect like a pointer, like a laser pointer. Anything in arm's reach, they're going to expect to be able to touch it physically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So doing that actually. And then these are, this is just the import folder. I made some 360 spheres with just in Maya really quick that I signed 360 photos to that I got for free off the web. You can find these all over the place.
I was actually once I've seen this concept, I've asked, hey guys, but what? No, it's coming. It's coming. Also support for 360 picture is coming. So it's like, okay, fine. So yeah, indeed, that's actually incredible. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. This is an environment map, really.
Yeah.
You know, when you're inside, I'm going to select all of this and kind of move it a little more towards the center. So you can see he's sitting, you know, kind of up in the middle. I'm sorry. At a nice, you know, like on a nice edge of a cliff here. You know, it would be very peaceful to be here, right? Now I'm gonna. Oops. I'm gonna zoom in here. Here we go. Okay. So I've got my creation panel over here, and I'm just going to drop a couple of these balls on here. You can duplicate them. I actually don't need to duplicate them. I'm just
Yeah.
maybe about 0.3. Oops. And things like that. Oh, I can press the wrong button. Snap. There we go. Now, quickly, we're able to kind of build a quick little interface. I've just got a few here that we'll do. Snap it down there. All right.
Yeah.
And so we could, we've literally just built an interface here for this poor little, for our user to kind of touch these things. And we could animate that too and show what that might look like, right? So I'm going to get rid of the thing here, and we'll bring up the timeline. Back to keys. And we can do some real-time animation here. and just go, oh, touch that thing, right? So we just created.
Yeah. So because maybe to also to explain in this case there are two ways to animate. One is basically via keyframe animation, and the other is using real time. So in this case, just grabbing the head of the puppets. If we now play the animation, for example, then people can see it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually add a different kind of key. We'll do this auto key for this one, and we'll change it just slightly. And I'm going to give it just a few frames, and we'll just scale it up, right? Put it up.
Yeah, that's it.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, when they press the ball, it expands, and I may want to duplicate the ball when it's in this configuration. Anyways, you get the idea. But that is an animation that shows an interaction.
Can you remove the gizmo a sec? Click outside so that maybe yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how well you guys can see this stuff. What was that? So we can even add a viewer on this, so that people can actually see it for themselves.
Yes, I think it makes sense.
Right? That's what this.
Yeah. So you put a point of perspective within the scene, so that there is Big Stave said, do your eyes experience strain when you're building in VR for a while?
Yes. Yeah. That's why it has to be fast, right?
Good point.
Whatever you're building has to be very, very fast.
And what is a while in your case, just to be a bit more precise? For you, at least.
I've done it for about 2 hours without, and then I get really, really tired after about 2 hours. And I have probably a stronger. I could probably go longer just simply because I get very, very focused about these kinds of things. But yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to share how easy it is to make stuff like this in VR, and this is just a quick little prototype.
Yeah. Could you actually indeed you were putting the viewer. Can you then play the scene from the viewer perspective, just so that?
Yeah.
If you play, it should play directly there. So if you remove stop the animation, the keys, stop the recording.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's the problem. I'm still auto keying.
Yeah, if you remove that and then play, then it should be that's it.
There you go.
Yes.
See? And
exactly. Yeah.
This is how it would play for a viewer too. For a client, right? Because they could see exactly this kind of position. And in some cases, I'll actually parent a camera to the head of the character, so that you can see it from their perspective, as if it's your body, right? Doing the interaction.
Yes.
Which is kind of a fun experience. Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
So do you guys have, meanwhile, because we still have 10 minutes to go, and I was curious, do you guys have any other questions or something that you would like to ask to Nate? There was also some of these, like the AR app that you actually, the running app that you prototype also, that was also like interesting in a sense. I suppose you might have a video or something about the waypoints, the distance, the information regarding the run that we're doing during that thing. But I mean, in general, guys, if you have any other questions, so the idea was today to kind of like have a conversation about indeed how would, what would be the tools that could be used to start creating for 3D, right? So that
and I have questions for the audience as well. Like if if you're a UX designer or if you're a designer of some kind and you build interactive prototypes, right? What kind of tool would you be doing that with in VR? Because I'm looking for those kinds of tools, and I've found a few that are like designer friendly, like Metaverse and Meta VRSE is one where it's kind of a web VR experience where you can add interactivity to 3D experiences. Um, there's but I'm looking for more tools like that, because when it comes as a UX designer, we're constantly wanting to iterate and user test as quickly as possible, right? And if this pipeline, creating 3D pipeline, is shortened, like we're seeing it shortened, then we just want to get to that point where I can conduct a user test, because to the earlier point, the collaboration is there, right? We just want to be able to see how people are going to use the things we're building as quickly as possible, so we know whether we're building the right things or not.
So
right?
your question to the people, and then I'll get back to this. What is your question to them then? What are the tools that they are using to create interactive?
What are the tools that they're using? You know, because I know, as for example, for my day job, I use Just in Mind and Acture, right? Those are two like 2D type prototyping tools for making high fidelity prototypes. We're talking about a 3D space. Has anybody found something like that? Because part of this is starting the conversation and getting inspiration from other people. But what are the things that they're aware of that maybe we don't know about?
Good point. So if anybody knows, are there something that some other tools that you have used that you found particularly, maybe with some workarounds, right? Maybe being creative, because right now that's also the stage where we are, right? Where we need to kind of like adapt what we have to something that is not really that, but still. So do you have something that you're using, you have found work, and sometimes I would throw in the thing, it doesn't even have to be like a digital tool, right? It might be a way of doing things that maybe just works for you, right? So for example, if we use some kind of like Wizard of Oz approach for some things, so those are all also other things. So curious.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different techniques by UX designers for spatial designing, where they'll do things like they'll use cardboard boxes to stand up things to get a sense of range, right? They'll paper prototype things. Some of them even draw on windows, right? Because you can see through windows to get an idea of an augmented reality experience. What should the interface look like? Because I'm seeing the world back there. What should I see here at my interaction level? And things like that. Like, I've seen very, very low tech solutions to this, and then there's higher tech ones, like what we've been talking about. Like,
So one question Jose asked, what about interactive in real time? That's are you guys at Fori planning to do that? Open menu and trigger actions, that's all certainly on the pipeline, because we believe that user experience is part, basically it's a flow, right? It's just changes of states in time. So how that's going to be done, that is something that is that we have to discover. So there is Jose Somolinos also asked, have you tried Microsoft Maquette? Otherwise there is Mohammed saying there is Minsar is the one that I tried, but not that good. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. Minsar, but you have used Maquette.
Yeah, I have used Maquette. Yeah, and Maquette's really good for precision UI design, I think.
Yes.
Really with that.
I think that's also, I think it suffers in a way from what also many other tools like Tori suffers again, that you need a VRPC to run it, right? You need a VRPC to run it, and and that's tricky. And I think that there are some advantages and disadvantages from each tool. In this case, Tori allows you to have that animation part in it. That's something that adds value in that sense. But certainly let's say I'm learning. Pato Mariano mentioned I'm learning to use Blender with Verge 3D and Spline tool for web AR experiences.
Wow, cool. Yeah, Blender is an open source community, so there's a lot of tools out there for people that are doing things, and you can build your own plugins to Blender to do that. So I encourage you to explore what might be out there. I haven't done a lot of exploration with Blender myself. I have done modeling and things like that in. It's a great tool for like having a free tool to adapt your models and things like that, especially for like 3D printing or for VR or whatever. It's fantastic for that kind of stuff. I haven't done a lot of deep exploration in all of the plugins that are available, but thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, good. Then I think we are almost there to wrap up. But there was one question I had that you mentioned about user testing, and this is also a question that I have also for the people there. What is user testing for you, right? I mean, because when is that you call it user testing? When is that you call it basically like it's almost testing the final product? What would you need in order to what level of polish would you need to run actual a test with a user? Just to have an example, so that I articulate what I'm mentioning. So let's say, for example, that you will be able to have, let's say, interactivity, right? That someone pushes, something opens, but you don't have transition. It's just, for example, step 1, step 2, step 3. There is no animated transition. It's just a series of stages. They could be branching, but there is no transition. So in that case, would that qualify? Could you use it for a user test or not?
I could, and I have done many things like that just in the 2D space, right? All they care about is what happens when I do a thing. They don't necessarily care about the transition. I mean, us as artists, we care about the transition. We want to see it, scales up, or it does, fades in or whatever, which are great, eye candy. But it really doesn't matter to an end user. All they care about is this did that. So you can go from step
Yeah.
1 to a step 2,
Yeah.
or whatever, or step 3. And so, yeah, as long as they can see a reaction to their action, that's enough to user test. I say that for the end user. For us, for the tester, we have to be able to observe them doing that, or what kind of process they went through to discover that I can press that button and do that thing, right? We have to be able to talk to them, we have to be able to ask them, so why did you press that button? What did you think would happen? Or what do you think will happen when you do press that button, right? Because you're trying to cipher out their thought pattern and what their expectations are, whether or not you're delivering on those expectations or falling short.
This is this I think deserve a whole new
I agree.
a whole new webinar, and I think that there should be actually more people involved in this. Maybe something that we should organize, because
Yeah.
I mean, this is because I think now we are also talking very often about design for VR, right? But the moment that you kind of like nail it and you are able to show and do that kind of user testing for VR, then technically you could test anything, right? I mean, almost anything, right? So, but for example, if you'd say, okay, you are in front of a coffee machine, there is that button, you push that button, what happens, right? So that is also, in a sense, then at that point, the whole world of possibility opens, because it's like, okay, now we can actually test anything we want, because that's virtual reality. There are no limitations.
That's actually customer experience testing. That's CX testing, where you can actually test the whole process, walking in the door, what you did to go through a shop, for example, all the way to making a purchase, right? You can test the entire pipeline in 3D space without having to take somebody to a physical store and stand up everything and props and all that stuff. It is extremely powerful, the direction that we're heading.
That's exciting. I mean, there is really a lot of stuff ahead. I mean, I think that that's also something that we actively need to explore and see what is again that level of depth that we need in order to provide something that is accessible to people, but at the same time provides that level of interactivity that would be needed, minimum level of interactivity that would be needed. Nate, I really want to thank you, and I wanted to thank everybody that actually joined, asked questions, participate, engage during this hour, and I will not stress it enough. actually connect with me, with Nate on LinkedIn or on his website, absolutely, and to stay updated. We are going to organize more of this, and actually, I mean, again, if you have a quest, we are going to have this community growing, so join, so that you will also be able to join during those meetup with others to share what they have created, create together. Someone mentioned multi-brush. Actually, is this new? Is the Tilt Brush went open source? I was thinking, hey, maybe we can just do UI design in multi-brush, right? I mean, who cares? So I'm also gonna organize like one of them in upcoming weeks to get people in multi-brush and start creating together as again as part of that community. So if you wanna join, please do it. Nate, do you have any other closing words?
No, just keep looking at the horizon, the 3D horizon. It's going to become easier, right? It is going to become there. And if you're a designer, you should start playing around with these tools today, because the spatial computing era is coming, and we've got to be ready for it as designers. We're going to be the ones that they rely on to usher us into that age.
Yeah. So I just want to answer two last questions. Is just say, do we get an early beta? Yes, end of April. You will. Other question is, do you have a Discord server group where we could get in touch with the community? We don't have. This is something we have to consider. Don't know if it's gonna put a Discord, if we're gonna make a Slack, but subscribe to the community, and then we're gonna create something. I think it's absolutely very much needed. Something we're gonna set up. To be honest, we started this 2 weeks ago. We are already at more than 400 subscribers, so that went pretty fast. So faster than we thought. But absolutely, we're also gonna create those channels so that people of the community can actually join.
And if you want connections to other Discords and stuff, hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever, and I can send you links to other communities of XR developers. They're being built. XR Bootcamp has a really good one, so go check that one out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. Nate, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. And guys, have a good day or have a good evening, and let's certainly catch up to the next event. Thank you very much, Nate.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.